Let's see, guys. This is a big video. This just came out. Hold on here. Pull this up. Okay, how World of Warcraft is improving its UI. One of the biggest problems that every WoW player is talking about, every streamer is complaining about, lots of people are complaining. If you can believe that. Let's see what's going on.
Welcome to a special edition of WoWCast, where we're going to talk about a patch 11.1.7 feature, and then a broader discussion about add-ons in World of Warcraft in general.
Jesus Christ.
I'm Dratnos, World of Warcraft content creator.
I'm Max, I'm the raid leader of Team Liquid, the WoW Guild, and a content creator as well.
And I'm Ian Hasekostas, game director on WoW, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Very excited to be here. So what are we doing in 11.1.7?
A whole bunch of fun stuff, but one of the features that we're extra excited about is a new UI option that we're adding called Rotation Assist, which is really designed to help.
Do we want the subtitles on or no? Why is it the subtitles look so fucking weird? No, yes, no. I'll leave it on. It's like annoying that there's shit behind it. We'll see.
Help players who are maybe picking up a new spec or want some.
Enables highlights that suggest the spell to cast. The assisted highlight will only suggest visible spells.
Guidance on what abilities they should be using when, without having to turn to third-party add-ons for it. So we've seen that, there's an add-on called Hekili that is very popular with a lot of players. We're basically building in a very similar version.
Okay, literally, watching this add-on for the first 3 seconds, it's doing its rotation completely fucking wrong.
It's an add-on called Hekili that is.
It literally is doing this out of order. This is a poison spell, and you need to shiv before the poison spell because this gives you a big damage increase. So already in the feature they've showed, it is not optimized at all. So that's like bad right there. And then, all right, let's just see. Okay.
It's very popular with a lot of players.
See,
we're basically building in a very
late.
similar version of that into the base UI that you can opt into. That will, no matter what DPS spec you're playing, highlight the recommended next ability given your current energy, what's going on around you, and so forth. One extra thing that we're also going to do, which maybe goes a bit beyond what the add-ons can do, is also have a one-button version of that, where there'll be like a keybind that if you
Increases the time between using abilities by 0.2 seconds. Cast a rotation of damage spells using a single button. What do you guys think? So you don't even need to hit any abilities. You can just hit this, and you have a longer global cooldown, so you can't hit as many buttons. But I guess it will just kind of start you off on what's going on. I'm not sure how, I don't think this is super optimized or anything, but I'm trying to think could this be useful? Could this be good? Is this ever sometimes I log on a spec and I just switch my talents or something and you have 50 buttons. So it could actually be pretty overwhelming, I feel like. I don't know if this is actually some game-breaking thing. This would probably be some funny WoW challenge where it's yo, I'm not even going to hit a single keybind. I'm only going to use single button on this spec and see how high rated I could get. I could see that being fun. It's yo, I'm not going to put any buttons on my fucking bar. I'm literally just going to only hit this and just run in circles and see where I go. That would actually be a badass challenge. But I don't know if this is I don't know. Let's just listen to him. So this is the big thing they're talking about.
Is also have a one-button version of that, where there'll be a keybind that if you just want almost an auto rotation, you can opt into that. And
so this one button will hit Ambush, Crimson Tempest, Deadly Poison, Envenom, Fan and Eyes, Garrote, Kingsbane, Mutilate, Poison Knife, Rupture, Shiv, and Slice.
It will just automatically cast the next recommended ability in the sequence. There'll be a small GCD penalty associated with that, but we want to make sure that this is for accessibility purposes, that it's there for people who maybe just honestly aren't interested in the gameplay of mastering their.
Once again, this rotation is fucking terrible. It's saying to use Poison Knife, which is a ranged throw, which does no damage. What's going on here? How is the two things they show are it's you would never hit this button ever in this situation. You would never press this button here. In a melee range of any button you could hit, every single button is going to be more value than this. You would never press your ranged poison knife.
But we want to make sure that this is for accessibility purposes, that it's there for people who maybe just honestly aren't interested in the gameplay of like mastering their spec. They want to explore Azeroth and experience the story, and the mechanics kind of get in the way of that sometimes. This should be for them. Ideally, this is not...
I mean, is that logical? I feel like that actually could be logical when he puts it that way. Maybe there are some people who like don't have two hands, or like they don't have all the keybinds, and it's tough for them, and they just do super casual content. Is this actually ever a bad thing? I feel like for Omega casual people, I feel like this maybe actually could be a good thing. And then maybe it could kind of help them like learn what to do, kind of. Yeah, so this wouldn't negatively impact anybody. I don't think. And honestly, what is scary is it actually might make some people better at the game. Like in PvP. If you're playing like a BM Hunter or a Fury Warrior with like very simple attacks, like it actually might make it could be a potential boost to those people, that's the only problematic thing I see where it's like, well, it's like a Demon Hunter, you can actually put this shit on autopilot and it'll straight up do better than you could in Arena, which is kind of crazy, but from what it looks like, this is probably a good thing for super casual people who don't watch Twitch, who don't watch YouTube videos, who like just want to try to mess around on the game.
Not a tool where someone is like being told by their raid leader to stop trying to DPS manually and just turn on the one button mode to meet some DPS check. That we want to give you the tools to kind of go through that organic progression.
Wow, he just said if you're stuck in the raid, you can't do enough damage, just hit the button, just hit this, and we can get through this.
Naturally.
Great. But the rotation assist doesn't come with a penalty or anything like that. That's just we're going to show you what your next button is.
Exactly. Right. It's very similar to the Hakili add-on. It's kind of reflecting, just the latest kind of established theory crafting, and it's something that we would continue to update.
It does come with a penalty. It has a reduced GCD. They just said that. How do they both completely ignore this? It says your GCD is 0.2 seconds longer. Oh, this is the highlight effect. Okay. I feel like a rotation assist is probably fine for people. That's fine. I mean, I feel like having your shit light up is dopamine inducing, especially if you don't know what's going on. And it didn't seem that optimized from what I saw.
With spec changes and class changes over time.
Okay, so
ideally,
there's rotation assist, which lights up your abilities of what to press, and then the one button thing that'll actually press it for you. And that has the GCD increase.
It all's born out of the idea that we've seen a valuable tool that players feel like they should be looking outside the game to download, and we'd rather just reduce the barriers to that and make it available.
Max has not stopped shaking.
Okay, yeah, because there's two parts of it, right? Like the advanced is, I want to really go into this, is the one button thing, but that's not necessarily everyone that's going to use this. Like, I think this game, especially new players getting into it, there's a lot going on within a particular class, and you can be a little lost trying to figure out exactly what I should be pressing. So even just using it as like a guide to start learning your class and move off of it eventually, but just having a base understanding of what actually should I be doing at a base level of this.
That's really exactly the motivation.
Dude, you could play WoW fucking blackout hammered. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, holy shit, you could actually just play the game completely blacked and just put the one button rotation on, and then you could probably be playing multiple solo shuffles at the same time by using the one button macro. That's unbelievable. That's actually insane. You don't even have to play the game anymore. It's even more hands-off. You could just like play Hunter, boom, put the button on. Drinking challenges would go crazy.
On our end,
the thing is though, I feel like this would suck for healers. I don't think this would be very good as a healer. And maybe it could be a lower rating, maybe, I don't know, but I feel like it's mainly a DPS thing. I don't know how optimized it could be for a healer in like a PvP situation, but maybe
especially
in PvE.
With warbands and War Within, we see lots and lots more alts, and leveling is pretty quick. You got a bunch of warbound until equipped gear that you're passing over to a new character, and just jumping into their full rotation. We've never played the spec seriously before, can be a pretty serious undertaking. And for some people, this may be enough for them, and that's fine too. But we recognize that there's so much. WoW has such a high skill ceiling that just recommending what the next ability isn't going to really remove that or fully solve that. There's still the muscle memory that you need to form, and then all of the nuances of like, we might have a recommendation for a rotation that makes sense if you're fighting a target demi, you're fighting patchwork, but when you need to plan around the fact that you're going to have to move in 4 seconds, that's a whole different like layer of skill that still rests with players.
Yeah, I know when I'm trying to play a new...
Dude, Eon is so fucking tuned into the game. Like, this guy really understands what's going on and what's happening. Like, even how he was able to explain, like, just that and say that. It's like, dude.
Spec for the first time or haven't played it in years.
These guys are tapped in, bro.
Like...
That's why it's so fucking weird. It's like, the Blizzard people, they know what's going on. They understand the game. Like, they do. But they just don't always make the right changes, or they don't like do shit. I don't know why, but they understand it. They deeply understand what's going on. Like it's
like I've got like a 30-minute checklist of, okay, I got to set up my keybinds, got to make sure, oh, this ability's changed since 2 expansions ago. I got to rebind that, and then I got to go and read some guides and figure out how all my new rotation works. And oh, here's how the new set bonus works. So I could see it being really nice to just have this is a way to jump in.
That's insane.
Some content to do with your friends.
He literally just said you have to have all the fucking add-ons, read a guide, get the right talents, figure out your rotation, understand how your set bonuses work, figure out how your procs work, and then you need to figure. It's like that's all the shit before you even start playing.
And have it work out nice and easily. One thing that jumps out to me is that a lot of the content I'd want to do would be like delves or keys, and in either of those cases, there's a lot of AOE.
Yeah.
Is this going to have a are we going to detect whether we're fighting 3 targets, 5 targets,
question.
and is it going to cast my Arcane Explosion instead of my Arcane Blast, or is it just always going to be a single target?
It's not just single target. There is some sense of how many enemies are within your range, in front of you, etc. And so that will affect the recommendations. Again, the goal is not optimal. The goal is not like this is going to okay, everyone's always going to get perfect parses and so forth going forward. But as a baseline, this should be, it should be useful the same way that many people find Hakila useful today. And really, like a lot of this, building on the foundations of the cooldown manager that just came out in 11.1.5, kind of reflects us hearing people in the community telling us that they feel like they need to seek out these third-party resources just to play the game at like a baseline effective level in competitive content.
Damn.
And
right there.
Us asking like, is that where we want the game to be in the long term? And what can we do to build in native solutions to many of these problems?
Like the base construct of it, there is this will help you learn what you're supposed to do if you are new. And then there is hey, I don't want to be the best player at this game. That's totally fine. I play it for a different reason. I want to collect things. I want to like understand the story. I want to quest. I want to level, right? And I don't want to feel like I can go into any content and I just don't really know what I'm doing. I feel anxious about that. Like you have the ability to just be like, okay, well at least Blizzard's got me. I can have something at a base level where I can press one button and
we'll see Asmon's take.
Hang out and play the game.
I'm assuming they're going to mention PvP here pretty soon. They're going to talk about so how does this affect Arena? What will this mean? For PvP. I'm assuming that's coming very soon, so we will probably listen in for that.
I have one question about the actual rotational thing. So is that going to like change with talents? So like let's say, is it going to work off the base talent build, or let's say you select a talent that now moves a AoE button into your single target rotation?
Here we go.
Is
The talents
is it going to be smart enough or plan to be smart enough to incorporate?
Bro, I use a Hello Kitty keyboard, Frenzy. I do. Someone's like, answer the stupid fuck about what keyboard is. I have a Hello Kitty keyboard. Okay, yeah, I've got it, Frenzy. That's what it is. It's a Hello Kitty Akko, bro. It's my mom's. It's some troll shit. Does anyone have the Asmon take to this? Was it a short react? Was it like a 30-second thing?
Potential talent builds.
The goal is that it's aware of your talents, and the logic is conditional based on what you do or don't have talented. As with, this is going to be something that continues to evolve. We may not have every single possible permutation accounted for in the version that we roll out with, but it should still be very useful in that form to everyone, and we'll just get refined from there. Similar to
what does Asmon
that we know is like, that is a first take at this. We have plans to add much more customization, much more functionality to that over time as well.
A one button.
Yeah, I think it's a really.
His title is Retail WoW is done.
One button.
Retail WoW is done. The most Asmon title ever. Well, what does he say?
Auto rotation? Wait, what? Breaking news. Is implementing a rotation assistant? Wait, what? Single button assistant?
Welcome to a special edition of WoWCast, where we're going to talk about a patch 11.1.7 feature.
Where does he talk
and then
about
a broader
it?
discussion about add-ons in World of Warcraft in general.
Retail
I'm
WoW
Granis,
is
World of
done.
Warcraft content creator.
I'm Max. I'm the raid leader of Team Liquid, the WoW Guild, and a content creator as well.
And I'm Ian Hasekostas, game director on WoW, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
So
Very excited to be here.
okay,
So what are we doing in 11.1.7?
A whole bunch of fun stuff, but one of the features that we're extra excited about is a new UI option that we're adding called Rotation Assist, which is really designed to help players who are maybe picking up a
enables highlights that suggest the spell to cast. So it tells you how to play the game.
So I actually paused at the same exact moment he did. So I am also a professional reactor. Did you see that? I inherently pause at the right time, the same time. So I feel like he's gonna start carrying it up here. He's probably gonna complain about this, and then he doesn't understand what that is, and then he's gonna see the button, and then he'll start complaining.
new spec or want some guidance on what abilities they should be using when, without having to turn to
I paused
third-party
because
add-ons
rotation's
for
wrong
it.
here.
So we've seen that
You
there's
ship
an add-on
before
called
Kingsbane.
Hekili that
It's
is
never the other way
very
around.
popular with a lot
So-
of players.
Yeah.
We're basically building in a very
But you gotta
similar
fix that.
version of that into the base UI that you can opt into. That will, no matter what DPS spec you're playing, highlight the recommended next ability given your current energy, what's going on around you, and so forth. One
Reaction
extra thing we're also going to do,
analysis.
which maybe goes a bit beyond
No, this
what
isn't
the
April
add-ons
Fools.
can do, is also have a one-button version of that, where there'll be
I paused at the same. Do you see that? The same place I paused again.
Oh my god! Single button assistant.
like a keybind that if you just want almost an auto rotation,
So
you can
you get to play the game with a garage door opener now.
opt into that, and it will just automatically cast the next recommended ability in the sequence. There'll be a small GCD penalty associated with that, but we want to make sure that this is for accessibility purposes,
so
and it's
true.
there for people
Oh
who
my
maybe
God.
just honestly aren't
Random side, garage door openers are not one button. They're usually like 2 to 3. Unless you got the app. That's a one button on the app, but I mean that's
interested in
Not
the
totally
gameplay of like
accurate.
mastering their spec.
Yeah.
They want to explore Azeroth and experience the story, and the mechanics kind of get in the way of that sometimes. This should be for them. Ideally, this is not a tool where someone is like
Garage opener's
being told
crazy.
by their raid leader to
my
stop
God.
trying to DPS manually.
Okay, so he. What does he say about this? I didn't think it was that bad. It seemed like it was fine for super casuals. Coop, did that read some?
Oh my god.
This is not a tool where someone is like being told by their raid leader to stop trying to DPS manually and just turn on the one button mode to meet some DPS check. That we want to give you the tool.
Well, of course they would be. No, of course. Ian's wrong. So because, okay, so this is what would happen, right? Is that,
Okay, where are we going with this?
so the red line is the artificial one button DPS. And this is manual. So if you are inside of this area here, you will be told by your raid leader, just turn on the one button mode, stop trying to play the game yourself. And if you're not in this mode and you're over here, you're going to be told to do it yourself. How does he do the
What does that even mean?
Like, these are the best players that have played the game for 20 years. How the fuck do you guys not see this obvious graph?
What is he talking about? What the fuck does this graph even mean? How are you even supposed to find out what this graph even means in number form? What are we talking about? How are you gonna know if you land here or land here? There's no way you could know this because a lot of it is gear based in the first place, right? It all depends. You guys saw me trying to PvE. I had fucking perfect rotation. I was dead last in damage. I was dead fucking last in damage. It did not matter at all. So I don't even know how you find these baseline numbers, or if someone can tell you that you need to toggle on or toggle off. I swear this is gear based. I didn't even imagine this graph in the slightest. I didn't even remotely think that this is what was happening. I was like, even when Eon said this shit about, yo, turn on the one button to do more damage for a DPS check, that's probably not what it does. I don't think it could work like that. That's a gear problem, I think. For the most part, from what I can tell. Is his name not Eon? Why do you guys keep typing EON? That's his name. Isn't that it?
And if you're not in this mode and you're over here, you're going to be told to do it yourself.
What is this graph?
How the fuck? Like, these are the best players that have played the game for 20 years. How the fuck do you guys not see this obvious graph?
I'm not sure. Did anyone see that graph? Because I played for 20 years.
What the hell is going on?
Maybe I'm out of touch. Am I wrong? I don't know.
This is crazy.
How does the graph make any sense? Use your critical thinking skills. One button rotation is consistent DPS, and it's always going to beat out brand new players. Yeah, isn't the idea of the rotational thing, like you hit the rotation, and you could also try to learn from the rotation as well, I would feel like. Because it's telling you what to do, and you don't have to go to Google to figure it out. Like, you could work with it and evolve with it, I would imagine. But, like, this rotation thing is not even that good from what I've seen. Not to Karen up, but even in their advertisements, the rotation is very off. Like, fundamentally very off. And he says this is not meant to be a parser thing. It's meant to be a quality of life for people who either are handicapped or they literally are so casual that they just want to do... I couldn't imagine anyone is going to be pushing super high or tough content using this, even though you probably could as a meme and it'd be like kind of troll, but I think this is like for super newbies. Like, I don't think this would have any impact on anyone. You know, or someone who can't keybind or doesn't know the keyboard, because it is very tough. I mean, especially if you play a bunch of classes, don't have a lot of time. I feel like this is actually good for super casual people, but we'll see what he keeps saying. I didn't understand that graph though. I didn't get the graph because I don't even think your rotation matters a lot on a really baseline level. It doesn't. It's your gear, and I know that because I played keys with shit gear. I played the raid with shit gear. I was dead last. I was beyond dead last. And I was losing to people who I think have never touched keyboards by a landslide. It was not even fucking close. It was all gear in PV. It was full on gear issue. So the rotation thing, I don't even think it's that big of a damage indicator from a baseline, from my experience, and in keys. It's crazy. My gear and rotation was shit. That's psychotic, guys. Tell me I don't know if the sub rotation is completely psychotic. It's ridiculous. Let's get back into this.
Manually and just turn on someone that sometimes. This should be for them. Ideally, this is not a tool where someone is like being told by their raid leader to stop.
If I did the one button assist, you morons, I would be doing infinitely less damage. These idiots. Yeah, bro, I needed the one button assist. The one button assist is worse than me. It's not even compared.
Trying to DPS manually and just turn on the one button mode to meet some
absolutely will be.
DPS check. That we want to give you the tools to
I remember I even did this with my mom. Because she was like, I don't know how to DPS. I say, okay. Hit Starfire. After you're done hitting Starfire, hit it again. Just do that. And yes, the best Moonkin rotation was more complex than that. But her interpretation of that rotation was worse than her just spamming Starfire. So I just had her spam Starfire. And everything was fine. Yeah, bro, I invented this in 2009.
I'm not sure what that means, because, guys, the game is not like that now. Okay, is there any class besides like BM Hunter where you can actually hit one button? No, you can't. You actually have to hit a shit ton of buttons. Like it's not. You can't. I don't think there's like a one button rotation on any class in today's day and age of WoW. You actually have to hit a ton of buttons. Because if you don't, you're actually missing. Like, I'm missing his point. I don't think so. Like, WoW rotations are actually very complex now. You have to have all these buffs up, and there's a way you have to do things because the damage loss is like, it's monumentally damage loss. It's like trying to play a SAS rogue and only hitting like mutilate. Like you wouldn't do any damage. Even if you hit one garrote bleed, like every 20 seconds from stealth, you would do more damage not hitting any button for 20 seconds than you could doing what he's saying. But a one button rotation is not good on any class. That's why it's like pretty troll.
Go through that organic progression naturally.
Great.
But so the rotation assist doesn't come with a penalty or anything like that. That's just we're going to show you what your next button is.
Exactly.
Right.
It's very similar to the Hakili add-on. It's kind of reflecting, just the latest kind of established theory crafting, and it's something that we would continue to update, with.
Does anyone even know what he's saying? You guys are all saying different things. I'm not sure. What was he saying? What was he?
Yeah, bro.
He's saying it was better for his mom to press one button rather than her interpretation of the optimal one? Yeah, and I'm saying that's not how WoW works now. You can't do that in WoW now. You could back then, because that's how you were, like, dude, you literally only had like 3 buttons. You can't do that in today's WoW. That's why it doesn't make any sense.
I invented this in 2009.
Go through that.
Let's see.
But her interpretation of that rotation was worse than her just spamming Starfire. So I just had her spam Starfire. And everything was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, I invented this in 2009.
Yeah, so he's talking about a different version of the game where you actually could press one button, and it would be more logical than trying to do some min-maxing. But in today's day and age of WoW, you cannot do that on like a very large majority of classes. It does not work that way. Unless you're playing like maybe a BM Hunter, and you could press like kill command on, and that's it. Just kill command on. I don't really know any other classes where it's like that. You're missing the point. The DPS rotations are so complex, the solution is to make them simpler, not automate them. That's not what he's saying. Yeah, no, I'm saying the point he just made, it doesn't apply to today's day and age of WoW. Moving on.
Go through that organic progression naturally.
Great. But so the rotation assist
Okay, let's see.
doesn't come with a penalty or anything like that. That's just we're going to show you what your next button is.
Exactly.
Right.
It's very similar to the Hakili add-on. It's kind of reflecting, just the latest kind of established theory crafting, and it's something that we would continue to update, with spec changes and class changes over time. Ideally, it all's born out of the idea that we've seen a valuable tool that players feel like they should be looking outside the game to download, and we'd rather just reduce the barriers to that and make it available to everyone.
The rotation lining up is good. I think the rotation lining up is probably good.
This game is so lost, it's actually insane. It's actually crazy to me that we are even in this position. It is so cooked that I can't even believe it. So why don't we try to employ a little bit of higher level thinking here? If the problem is that you need an add-on to play your character, maybe you should make characters easier to understand and play. Have you ever thought about that? That maybe you don't need 50,000 fucking buttons and rotations and pop-ups and, special, like that's it. So basically they're creating a problem, and now they have to solve the problem that they've created. It's just insane.
You guys in the chat are fucking insane. Are you guys reading some of these chats? Holy shit. I mean, this. Felina's there, that resub. Guys, the game is too hard. The game is for sure gotten out of control. There's too many buttons and too many keybinds. So they're proposing a solution that is a temporary fix, I would assume. I feel like where WoW is, I don't think this is the end-all, be-all with where they are with their rotations and damage. I think there's definitely a chance they could probably condense it as time goes on. But for a Band-Aid rotational fix or something, I feel like this is actually a more logical idea, because of what they'd have to do is overhaul the entire game. I don't think they could just overhaul the entire game immediately, or they are trying to figure out a way to overhaul it where they can literally reset the entire game and everyone's keybinds get cut in half, and then that's how it works. But from what it is, I mean, it's right. Like, have you actually thought about it? How they could even change that? Like, where everyone has 50 plus keybinds, every single character, every spec. To change that, it would have to change the entire game. And
it's basically like all Blizzard had to do was make a wheel. But they couldn't do a wheel. They had to make a hoverboard. In order to make a hoverboard, you have to have the right kind of wood. And then so then you need a seatbelt for the hoverboard, because sometimes people can fall off the hoverboard. And what if the hoverboard goes too fast? Okay, well, you have to have a speed limiter on the hoverboard. And then on top of that, what are you going to use for fuel? How much is the fuel going to cost for the hoverboard? And this is all, we're doing all of this stuff instead of just thinking about how to make a wheel. It is crazy the amount of gymnastics that they're going through in order to appease these top 0.001% players that play the game as a job instead of making the game better for everybody. This needless, unnecessary complexity that can only be basically responded to with further needless, unnecessary complexity and weird systems that simply remove gameplay from the game. It's insane. How the fuck did this happen?
Okay, yeah, because there's...
I mean, I don't know. It's also tough, too, because there's no MMOs that are out that are as big or as long-standing as WoW. So it's like everything kind of Blizzard does, they're like front-running and leading the whole MMO industry. But I feel like when you log on a bunch of different MMOs, there's a shit ton of keybinds. Guys, how can anyone compare old school RuneScape to WoW? Are we serious? Who is actually making a comparison to that? Are we actually not trolling when people say that shit? You literally log on RuneScape, you're clicking to move. Come on, like, what are we saying? It's not even close. I'm not talking about the MMO. I'm saying playing the game. There's like 50 keybinds on WoW. Final Fantasy has a bunch of keybinds too, right? A bunch of spamming and buttons and this and that. Every game kind of has that now. There is no game like Classic WoW that's released in MMO form. There's none. This is like the new day and age. Like they're all games are like this now. I feel like. So it's like in every game. It's not just a WoW thing.
There's two parts to it, right?
Crazy.
Like the advanced is, I want to really go into this, is the one button thing, but that's not necessarily everyone that's going to use this. Like I think this game, especially new players getting into it, there's a lot going on within a particular class, and you can be a little lost trying to figure out exactly what I should be pressing. So even just using it as...
Then shouldn't you address that problem rather than introduce a solution to remove it? I think that's a design problem. If a person can't easily understand how to play their character in a video game, maybe that's a problem with the way the game is designed. Duh.
Like as a guide to start learning your class and move off of it eventually, but just having a base understanding of what actually should I be doing at a base level.
If I play Retail WoW again, I'm 100% just using this button. I'm putting it on spacebar too.
I want to use the button too. Like I think that's
really exactly the motivation on our end, and especially with
I would use
War
it
Within,
too.
we see lots
That's
and lots more alts.
This should be
and
hilarious.
leveling is pretty
Solo
quick.
shuffle,
You maybe
one
get a
button
bunch of
only?
Warbound until equipped
Kidding me?
gear that you're passing over to a new character,
Fury
and just
Warrior.
jumping into their full rotation, we've never played the spec seriously before, can be a pretty serious undertaking. And for some people, this may be enough for them, and that's fine too. But we recognize that there's so much. WoW has such a high skill ceiling that just recommend.
Why? For who? For these people that you constantly talk to, that are these people play your game as a job. And you're constantly listening to them on how to maintain that complexity. This is so distorted, it's unreal.
What the next ability isn't going to.
I feel like games have had to evolve for so many years. Like every game just has to evolve. Because like classic WoW and shit still exists and you can play it, but it's not that popular. Like for a vast majority of people, I feel like it's not. Like it's same with like hardcore. Like it's exciting to watch and everything, but like are you playing like hardcore? How many times are you gonna keep playing vanilla WoW infinitely? You know what I mean? Like it's just not. It doesn't have the same replayability as retail. Not even close, at all. But like every game has had to evolve. Every single game actually. Like even the old. You look at any old shooter game like Call of Duty. You look what it looks like now. League of Legends, what it looks like now. Even like Final Fantasy, I think is one you could look at. Where at the beginning and how it is now. It's just there's all these keybinds. Every game has had to do this. Because gaming gets stale. Gaming gets stale and people figure it out. And it feels like they all have to do this. Every game kind of suffers from this power creep and shit. And this difficulty increase. Because otherwise people just get bored of it.
To really remove that or fully solve that. There's still the muscle memory that you need to form. And then all of the nuances of like, we might have a recommendation for a rotation that makes sense if you're fighting a target demi, you're fighting patchwork. But when you need to plan around the fact that you're going to have to move in 4 seconds, that's a whole different like layer of skill that still rests with players.
Yeah, I know when I'm trying to, play a new spec for the first time, I haven't played it in years. It often feels like I've got like a 30-minute checklist of, okay, I got to set up my keybinds, got to make sure, oh, this ability's changed since 2 expansions ago.
They're so close. They're so close. They almost understand. You're so fucking close to solving the problem.
I gotta rebind that, and then I gotta go and read some guides and figure out how all my new rotation works, and oh, here's how the new set bonus works. So I could see it being really nice to just have a...
So it would be really nice to just have a button that just does everything for you? Why not make it easier so you don't need the button? Like, what the fuck is it? This is...
This is a way to jump into some content to do with your friends and have it work out nice and easily.
Is that right?
One thing that jumps out to me is that a lot of the content I'd want to do would be like delves or keys. And in either of those cases, there's a lot of AoE. Yeah. Is this going to have a, are we going to detect whether we're fighting 3 targets, 5 targets? And is it going to cast my Arcane Explosion instead of my Arcane Blast? Or
it should be able
just
to.
always going to be a single target?
It's not just single target. There is, some sense of, how many enemies are within your range, in front of you, etc. And so that will affect the recommendations. Again, the goal is not optimal. The goal is not like this is going to, everyone's always going to get perfect parses and so forth going forward. But as a baseline, this should be, it should be useful the same way that many, many people find Hakila useful today. And it really, like a lot of this, building on the foundations of the cooldown manager.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I didn't understand this picture. What is this?
This game is so cooked, it's actually insane. I'm looking... You know what?
Is there a cooldown manager? How long has that been in the game? MC, can that resub? I still use Omnibar.
Real ones remember this.
What is that? Seth in the resub?
It's the same one.
What is that?
It's the same one. God, this is unbelievable.
That just came out in 11.1.5 kind of reflects us hearing people in the community telling us that they feel like they need to seek out these third-party resources just to play the game at like...
I don't even know what this... Is this an Omnibar? What is this showing? This is his character Is this his own cooldowns? Like, what does this even do? Why would you want to look at your own cooldowns on the screen like this? Is this easier to see, like your evocation cooldown? Is that what it looks like?
Feel like
I've
they
never
need
even
to
seen
seek
that.
out these third-party resources just to play the game at like.
I didn't even know what that is. Usually what I do is I'm tracking other people's cooldowns. I'm not trying to see my own cooldowns. I'd be wanting to see the other players. But I'm pretty sure Eon's going to go into PvP here soon and kind of explain what exactly is going on. Bro, as it is so troll.
You know what this is like? This is like watching an advertisement for one of those scam phone games where it's like a guy with a machine gun is moving
Are
back
those
and
all
forth,
scams?
and one of them says add 100 and it says subtract 1. And then he goes into the one that says subtract 1 and he dies.
I always see those.
It's like, it's so easy. It's so everybody can see what you're supposed to do.
A baseline effective level in competitive content, and us asking, like, is that where we want the game to be in the long term, and what can we do to build in native solutions to many of these problems?
Like the base construct of it, there is a, this will help you learn what you're supposed to do if you are new. And then there is a, hey, I don't want to be the best player at this game. That's totally fine. I play it for a different reason. I want to collect things. I want to like understand the story. I want to quest. I want to level, right? And I don't want to feel like I can go into any content and I just don't really know what I'm doing. I feel anxious about that. Like you have the ability to just be like, okay, well at least Blizzard's got me. You know, I can have something at a base level where I can press one button and just kind of hang out and play the game. I have one question.
All right, we'll probably go back to the video soon.
About the actual rotational thing. So is that going to like change with talents? So like, let's say, is it going to work off the base
course it
talent
will.
build, or let's say you select a
Of course
talent
it
that
will.
now moves a AoE button into your single target rotation? Is it going to be smart enough or planned to be smart enough to incorporate a bunch of?
All right, should we go back to just watching it without Aspen's reaction? Be Blizzard, amputate leveling, no one knows how to play their class, try to simplify classes, sweats threaten to quit, make classes more complex, sweats quit anyways, casuals quit anyways, make WoW an auto-battler. Blizzard spent years trying to eliminate one-button rotation macros only to introduce one themselves. We know there are people who don't want to play WoW. We're adding a feature that lets them not play WoW. They want people who don't want to play the game to keep paying $15 a month to not play the game while playing the game. If you miss even one interrupt, your raid leader will demand one button mode. Bro, oh my god, do you think it kicks? I didn't even think of that. What if it could kick bot or something? Holy shit. Is that even possible? Yo, maybe Tyler 1 could play the game. Oh my god. Dude. Holy shit, I didn't even know if it could kick. That would be insane if it kicks.
Really
All right, let's just
exciting
see.
feature individually.
I gotta eat this.
The thing that's most exciting to me is in the broader context of the cooldown
my
manager,
sandwich integrity's
of all these other edit mode changes that have come out. You know, there was a time 5 years ago in WoW where if you were just getting into the game, there was an intimidating list of these are the add-ons that you need, and if you're not using these, you're kind of
It's still like that.
worse, right? Like you're noticeably worse. If you can't track your group member's major cooldown, right? Like you're worse at Mythic Plus than somebody who is, right? And it seems like the goal that has been accomplished with a lot of these things that have been coming into the base UI is you can use those add-ons if you want, but we now have a native way to the game.
Is that even
you
true?
don't have to get an add-on.
That is pretty much exactly our long-term philosophical goal here, right? Like, add-ons are amazing. The things that the community has done over the last 20 years to allow people to experience different aesthetics, different functionality, have information available at their fingertips, like, that is a huge part of WoW's success, and we don't question or want to undermine that for a moment. At the same time, like as you said, ideally it is about what do you want? How do you prefer to have things presented to you?
Yeah.
And not what do you have to do? What is a group mate or raid leader or whatever?
Do a lot of people get happiness out of like designing their UI and shit and setting up the add-ons? I never really thought of that, but maybe there are people who really enjoy that. People like to have customization and make your stuff feel personalized. When I was young, I liked that, but now I'm like, I don't like any of it. Maybe I'm getting old. Damn. I don't like that shit at all now. I have the Pikaboo UI, nothing. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I used that, I guess I used one UI add-on. I used to use Bartender and shit, but now that I'm older, we need to get rid of that shit.
Or telling you must download. Or if you ask people, hey, how can I get better? Or, I'm really struggling at this. The first answer shouldn't be, well, download this add-on, this add-on, and this add-on, otherwise you're doing it wrong. Because that's starting to get into that mandatory place, whether we like it or not. So yeah, I think, longer term, these initiatives kind of fit into part of how we're thinking about the role of add-ons in WoW. As we can probably all agree today, there is a sense that if you want to really be the best you can, if you want to play competitive content, there are certain add-ons that are required, that are simply going to improve your success over not having them.
They're literally saying that. Eon himself is saying the add-ons are, you need it.
We would like to get away from that being the case. I think I'd love to see a WoW one day where you can still customize the aesthetic look of your UI, you can have information and quest helpers and all the other things that you might want to have to make your experience a bit more seamless. But that at the end of the day, when you're in competitive content, when you're queuing up for a rated PvP match, when you're going into a high key, when you're trying to get a first kill on a raid boss, there isn't the sense that you are just holding yourself back if you're not using specific tools. We know that there's a lot of work to do to get to a place where that could be the reality. The first steps really are going to be continuing to build up the just right out of the box functionality that World of Warcraft offers to shrink that gap. But at the same time, I think we're aware that at the very end of this process, we probably are going to have to rein in some of the functionality that add-ons currently have to do like real-time in-combat problem solving specifically, where it's like automating coordination, communication in ways that are always going to be better than anything the UI could natively provide you, as long as they remain possible.
Yeah, so that moves us into like raid bosses, where I don't want to name any names, but there are people who have optimized a little bit of their own fun out of the game sometimes. I don't know where any of them might be sitting. They could be anywhere. They could be in this room with us.
Hey man, I am the number one. Let's just YOLO this. Let's just do the fight. Let's make it work. And then sometimes it gets to let's try to make something that could be 95% successful, 100 or 99, right? And there's a lot of frustration with the tech involved with that. I would definitely be. I think a lot of the raiding community would be pretty for that. I think a well-designed mechanic that the game giving you enough information to solve this on your own realistically. A lot of the times the community will just use one because it's like what everyone else uses. It gets you in the same place. But if that doesn't exist and the game is giving you that information, it's objectively better, right?
And even if you are doing it very well, manually, it's always going to be better to do it perfectly in a competitive situation. I mean, having watched, your raid leading, for example, over many...
Whoa! Eon this dude, he knows, man.
Many years over the race to world first, like years ago, you would call much more stuff verbally.
Very
like
true.
Going back to, Legion, BFA era, whereas nowadays it seems like if there is something you're calling repeatedly on attempts, the first thing you're doing is asking if, hey, can we automate this and get me out of the business of talking, which seems like it might be less enjoyable for you as a raid leader.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if we're talking about that, I could talk all day about that. Yeah. No, I mean, I felt like you certainly had more of an impact when you had the ability to, influence the fight more. But the reality is just getting some way to automate it for your players is just better. It is funny. Like when I do that now, I think, what else can I be doing with my time? I could be like looking at other ways to optimize, and it's purely for the sake of getting better. So yeah, for my own enjoyment, yeah, that's sweet. Let's do that. I'm trying to wonder also about those kind of mechanics. So like what bosses have existed in my head, I think in the past couple of years, there's not many, but have been defined by when we're progressing this boss, we feel like maybe we're progressing a weak aura. Something like Brood Twister or Echo of Neltharion or Jailer maybe was one of the first ones, right? And those mechanics, I feel like could not have been done or probably would have been nerfed without weak auras or having that effectiveness of that reduced. What do you do as a fight designer now? Do you I know you're obviously like really passionate about raiding. You've raided for a really long time. Do you have to avoid those kind of assignment mechanics? Are there things in game you can use to like naturally sort out those things? Like, do you give more time to the mechanics? Like do you have to stray away from assignments in general because the community has just, whether you like it or not, has like trained themselves to have something solve that for them? Do you have to like go back into like a more simple version of that? Do you find other ways to make fights difficult? There's obviously a bunch of ways to do that.
The way we design encounters has been influenced in significant ways by the way players use add-ons. I know, the community sometimes speculates that, this was built clearly to require an add-on. I can say that's never the case. No encounter designer is ever sitting around saying, all right, we're going to make this mechanic, and then players will write this weak order to solve it this way. All right, mission accomplished, let's ship the boss. But when we're thinking about the overall pacing of a fight, the tuning, we might get feedback on a fight that it feels like there isn't enough going on, when in actuality, there are 4 or 5 mechanics going on, but add-ons are largely compartmentalizing and making it so that most players don't have to think about them most of the time. And then players give us feedback that, hey, this fight felt a little bit slow, like I was just punching the boss for 3 minutes. And so then maybe we add another mechanic in the next iteration of that, or a similar encounter. We get to a higher overall complexity space where, there's just, you look at the dungeon journal and you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and maybe half of it doesn't even matter because add-ons are going to handle it for you. I think that's not a great place for things to land. And also definitely,
it's so crazy just listening to like the developers just talk. It's like, what the fuck? This guy's like, yeah, we tested it. Doesn't want to feel like we're fighting patchwork. We got to make it more difficult. Boom, but then it gets more difficult because this shit is so easy nowadays. Everyone knows what this is. Everyone knows how to deal with this. Now we're looking at 50 fucking tabs in the dungeon journal. This guy's completely in tune. It's like, it's so crazy. Everything he's saying makes perfect sense. It's like, guys, is WoW supposed to look like classic WoW at 25 years later, or no? Do we expect that? Do we expect to go into Molten Core 25 years later? I mean, like, really? Are you serious? Is anything on the planet like that? This dead same? Nothing has changed? No evolution in 25 years? Crazy. Even then, people had to make their own way to make the game more difficult, like hardcore. No one even plays non-hardcore classic WoW, bro. Ridiculous. They literally had to make the game harder themselves. Self-found challenge, solo self-found challenge. They had to make it as difficult as they could. No talents, no grouping, because they had to do something. Still, you getting that resub? I'll play it. Crazy. No talents, no nothing.
Ties our hands in some ways. Like, I think we do fewer coordination mechanics than we used to. Like, there used to be, like, if you look at old school WoW days, there were encounters where like the primary challenge for your raid was by design coordinating some rotation. And the execution beyond that wasn't super complicated, but making sure that this thing stayed soaked, or that you were rotating people through with their debuff or whatever, that became a big part of the fight's challenge. Now we know ultimately that like that can never be the thing that we lean on for challenge, because it's going to be solved, and it's not going to be solved through what we think of as the more interesting MMOE, like communication, cooperation, figuring out systems for having these things work in a way that feels collaborative. It's going to be downloading the WoW pack, setting it up appropriately, maybe having 3 or 4 frustrating wipes because there was a typo in the configuration, that's not what I think anyone really wants raiding to be. And so we move away from making those mechanics as much, and lean more on things that add-ons can't solve for you, like creating wipes because there was a typo in the configuration. Cooperation, figuring out systems for having these things work in a way that feels collaborative. It's going to be downloading the weak aura pack, setting it up appropriately, maybe having 3 or 4 frustrating wipes because there was a typo in the configuration, that's not what I think anyone really wants raiding to be. And so we move away from making those mechanics as much, and lean more on things that add-ons can't solve for you, like moving out of a swirly under your feet with only a little bit of time to respond. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that more and more of our fights have those sorts of just like twitch reaction, avoidance mechanics, whereas that used to be one type of fight that we did. The design space is definitely constrained by the knowledge that, if we lean on it too heavily, it's just going to get trivialized.
Some of my favorite WoW raid boss memories are bosses like Mythic Unat, Mythic Anduin. You have to spread out and then you get these marks and you have to go to the right places. And there used to be definitely a library of mechanics like that where you would get them, and then you'd have to think, and you'd have to have like a system, and you'd have to have 20 players sort of.
Here's the question: why, when making new dungeons and raids, why do we take the fun out of learning fights/mechanics by making a book telling you exactly what to do? Because it's too complicated. You're not going to go in there in a pug and think you're going to sit there and wipe 30 times and it's going to be okay and you're going to actually progress the boss. It's completely impossible. There's so much random shit going on where your group is going to leave after 1 or 2 deaths instantly. Guaranteed. Unless you're like a guild group, even then you have like you wouldn't be able to like figure out a lot of it, I think, without the dungeon journal, unless you're like super experienced.
Coordinate and become one team that does a mechanic like that. And the fact now that add-ons take on much of that job of coordinating us, I think that almost all the Mythic Raiders I know would be delighted to move back to a world where we did that in our brains, right? But in Dragonflight, we saw a little bit of an attempt to make that happen, right, with the private aura system. And what ended up happening was we still had the weak aura, but now we also have a macro that we need to press, and then the weak aura will assign us the same thing. So I'm a little bit worried. How's the arms race between the weak aura devs trying to come up with a new way around the restriction that you're putting in? Is this just a further escalation in that?
Hopefully not. I think our goal here is kind of disarmament and definitely not further escalation. I think we understand that if we're not going to try more little targeted things like that are going to encourage workarounds, and it just ends up with this back and forth. Because if there is a way to solve a complex mechanic, but you have to jump through a couple of more hoops to do so, you'll do that, right, and then just be more annoyed by the process. Our goal is to try to get out of that space entirely, and so I think down the line eventually, that may mean, I think, some broader restrictions on specifically what information add-ons have access to about combat events in real time. At the same time, we know that that's not a thing that we could just do right now without providing a lot more on our end, both in terms of just UI type functionality, but also looking at how we're designing some encounters, how some of our classes work. I think there are tons of add-ons that are healthy and valuable and really important to how players play the game that do rely on that flow of information. Everything from something as simple as damage meters to honestly boss time, like ability timelines, like the DBM style, like when is this next ability going to fire that people have basically been raiding with forever. That's not the computational weak auras. That's just, hey, this ability is going to happen in 15 seconds. We want to build in our own version of that. I think down the line, we'd love to see a place where there is a boss timeline as just part of the encounter UI. And that's not something you need an add-on for. And that way we can hopefully eventually get to a point where we're really just cutting out the weak aura that solves the mechanic for you, but not the informational stuff that you feel like, it really feels like the game should have been telling you all along, where add-ons are, admittedly, kind of filling in some gaps there.
Okay, so coming in 11.1.7, we're going to have the rotation helper, those 2 options. What of the rest of this initiative, is any of the rest of this in 11.1.7, or are we just starting the conversation now?
I think there's a lot of stuff that we're working on. I think, we've seen the cooldown manager and then the rotation assist coming. I think down the line, it's some of the stuff that I touched on. I don't have specific patch dates right now, but we are looking at damage.
Dude, what is CD manager? What is that? They couldn't even implement CD manager properly. Imagine this kind of functionality. I feel like this shit is this shit is tough. That was the big UI update. Is there an example of the cooldown manager? What is it? It's just a weak aura pack in base UI. It's terrible. It tracks your cooldown like weak auras, but it's broken for healers. Look at any WoW streamer's UI. Let's see. What does it even look like? Let's see. Who's in the WoW section right now? Let's see. I'm checking the WoW section right here. So we got us. Thiji here, Yodas. Here we go. This is some keys here. So even just pausing this, nothing's even happening. We've got there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different details tabs, and then we've got some kind of cooldowns here, something here, some buffs, some dodge parry thing here, some other cooldown here. We're tracking teammates' PIs. Is any of this the new cooldown shit? Yoda's the worst example you could have used. What do you mean? This is who's streaming right now. So none of this is the new UI? This is what people see when they go into WoW. I don't know, dude. The game, this is it. This isn't rare. This is pretty common. What do you mean? This is literally who's streaming right now. Top streamer in the game. This is what it looks like. Unless everyone expects MMOs to just look like this now. Like, is this what people expect now when you go into MMOs as a new player? I'm not sure. I've been an MMO player my whole life. I've never talked to someone who's never played an MMO, and they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna start playing an MMO." Like, what do you think it's gonna look like? Because there's that, and then like if you look at my screen when I'm playing the game, like let's say like a classic WoW example, like this is what my UI looks like. So that's what my screen looks like. I mean, just a difference of like, okay, like like maybe there's more appealing for one way than the other, but like that's pretty massive difference in the same game, right? I guess this is the classic version, but like what does my retail look like? What's like a better example of what my retail looks like? And then here's like my retail just like standing here. Let's see. So it's like standing in the open world. This is my retail UI too. So I'd say it's a pretty massive difference between the two. Jay Dull, with that resub. But I don't know what that cooldown tracker is. I haven't seen anyone use that. I didn't even know that was a feature. So Arena UI in game. I guess like get into a game. Let's see like. There's tons of shit flying around. It's like in game. Yeah, I got like some cooldown trackers here. I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot less clutter, but you know, it still does get hectic. Right, then that sub. Appreciate that. See the things in the middle of the screen? No, I don't have the new feature. I don't know what the new feature is. Let's see. Let's see another person then. Let's see. There's Yoda. There's Bean on Classic. Alondo looks like he's on Classic, I think. And here we go. Here's another one. So like what? So is he using the new cooldown tracker? Because he's got a bunch of shit on the screen. Can't even tell. This is a week or a pack? Huh. Yeah. Okay. No, so not one person's using the CD tracker. So can Blizzard ever even catch up and make this shit work or make it look like good? Or is it completely impossible and there's no chance? Okay, this one looks more open. Shit is advanced though. Alright, we'll have to log into the game and see. We'll have to log into the game and see, then we'll see. But like that's tough though, right? Like if someone's trying to see the game, that's what they're looking at. It's like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like,
Trainers, we're looking at
and then they log in, it looks nothing like that.
We are looking at, like a raid encounter information presentation that shows you timeline of boss abilities coming up. Things in that general space. I think we're looking at all the places where players say right now, you need this weak aura, you need this add-on to be competitive, and asking ourselves like, how do we change our game to make that not the case? And some of that's going to be add-on functionality, or UI functionality. Other aspects are going to be looking at how we're building some encounters or how some class mechanics work. Like I think it's super fair to point at some specs, like let's say Outlaw Rogue, who I know are easy one to pick on in some of these ways, and ask like, how is anyone really supposed to execute this perfectly with the base UI? Almost any time we're tracking like stacks of a buff, and you need to make a decision where it's like, if you're between 4 and 7 stacks, you should do this, otherwise don't. Those are not reasonable tests for us to be posing to our players without providing them the information to do it correctly. And so we need to either provide the information, simplify the mechanic, or both.
There are a lot of players who love the version of Outlaw Rogue that has existed over the past few years. So I think there's always some fear when this discussion starts up of, is the answer going to be to simplify everything? And I think it's really exciting to hear it said that the answer is, okay, we'll maybe simplify some of these huge outliers, but we're gonna bring in.
Do you guys like Outlaw Rogue? Have you guys played it recently? I like the idea of the between the eyes spam, and it resets, and the cooldown of it, and it does seem fun. I don't have it min-maxed at all though, because I can't track the rolls. I don't really know what the rolls are doing. I don't know. It feels exciting. Like you can do a lot with it. Like there's a lot of CC. There's a lot of things you can do with that spec. But I would say it's a tough spec to play. Very tough spec to play. Hartman, did that resub? Like, yeah, but yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to pick it up if your damage rotation is not really locked in, because you got to be really quick. And then I feel like Outlaw's got to be one of the tough specs too. Like
that makes it so that instead of needing to download a weak order to solve this, right? Instead of needing to have a complicated assistant tell you, now you're supposed to press this button, now you're supposed to press this button, instead we're going to provide that information in a more clear way than looking at the top right of your screen to see your buffs and trying to catch the rotation buff between all the other 20 that are changing in combat.
That's definitely the goal. I think we want World of Warcraft to be as approachable as possible, but we also love that the skill ceiling in the game is as incredibly high as it is. That allows for tons of differentiation and self-expression and accomplishment. But I think a lot of, at its core, a lot of skill in WoW I think boils down to multitasking ability. And like even just, you might be able to do amazing damage just testing it against a target dummy. Very different world when you're also in an encounter and need to do 3 mechanics at the same time. And we see, tunnel visioning DPS are a meme for a reason, right? They're just focused on their rotation and whoops, they just messed up the encounter mechanic, or vice versa. Someone who is good at mechanics, but their DPS goes off a cliff. Really, like the function of a lot of these add-ons is to offload a portion of that computational complexity. And we recognize, like, if we are removing some of that functionality, we're providing more information, we can probably remove a couple of mechanics, but still keep the same level of challenge. The goal is not to make it easier. The goal is to make it less complex. And I think that's, I think is a key distinction there, because I think it often can sound like, oh, this is about, this might be about dumbing down the game or simplifying things. It's not that. It's about trying to create a more approachable baseline experience that still has every bit as much room for differentiation.
When you were talking about add-ons,
guys, I got to see what Czar said. He says this will change WoW for better or worse. What did Czar say about this?
IGN articles. World of Warcraft is getting a one-button option that will automatically cast the ideal next spell. This is fake. This is complete fake news. Blizzard is preparing to add a new feature that might sound strange. An option to tell you what spell you should optimally cast next, with an additional option to simply let the game cast the next spell for you. No way. No way. Blizzard is thinking deeply about the role of add-ons in WoW and how players wanting to participate in competitive events, they become mandatory. The team says he wants to move away from that philosophy and is thinking down the line about improvements that can be made to WoW's class design, boss encounter design, and UI. Hazakosis says they're never going to simply ban add-ons, but they okay. Here, obviously you want to improve your UI and improve boss encounters, but as far as adding stuff like a WoW internal version of Hekili, you talked in the video a little bit about looking at maybe doing in-house damage meters at some point, or things that are currently solved. Why not just continue letting the community handle?
Okay, what about the one button?
Okay, so they're not going to shoulder it for a while. Have you spoken to the Hekili folks at all? Do they have an opinion? Personally, not yet. I know that our UI team have a close communication with add-on author community. Okay. I'm gonna read that through. I don't really know exactly where it says that, but dude, that seems like crazy if they actually do that, right? That seems like nuts.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong short. I can't even tell. I didn't even know what Hekili was. There's already people using an add-on rotation helper? What?
is that things have been in the game, been inspired by it.
YouTube Shorts, what is this?
So we've seen that, it's an add-on called Hekili that is very popular with a lot of players. We're basically building in a very similar version of that into the base UI that you can opt into. That will, no matter what DPS spec you're playing, highlight the recommended next ability given your current energy, what's going on around you, and so forth. Which maybe goes.
Guys, am I out of touch here? Am I out of touch here? This seems terrible.
Is also have a one-button version of that, where there'll be like a keybind that if you just want almost an auto rotation, you can opt into that, and it will just automatically cast the next recommended ability in the sequence. There'll be a small GCD penalty associated with that, but we want to make sure that this is for accessibility purposes, that it's there for people who maybe just honestly aren't interested in the gameplay of like mastering their spec.
I'm trying my best to stay open-minded and understand where they're coming from. I'm just like, was anyone asking for this? Is this something that players wanted?
So we've seen that.
Ooh, gearing up for console. The people who use it for accessibility issues will eventually be jilted by the GCD penalty and feel like they're being punished. Blizzard will eventually remove the GCD penalty altogether. Mobile. We're going to take the game out of the game. They're making it so much easier for bot farmers. It's insane. So much for spending the last 20 years of my life learning and mastering my 90-button feral rotation. What a joke. What the fuck? What? Hikili has 56 million downloads? There are 56 million of you already using this shit? Oh my god. It's probably the same people complaining. What? $56 million downloads? Hikili being one of the most downloaded add-ons. Is Hikili one of the most popular add-ons ever? Tell me, this is crazy. Is it all bots that why would a bot need the add-on? It isn't even good? Bots don't need it. Yeah, like, wouldn't bots not need it? Add-on is good for learning the rotation as a beginner. So it's crazy that one of the most popular add-ons on the entire planet, I had no idea it existed. Czar had no idea it existed. So maybe we are just completely lost here. I mean, I didn't even know that was the most popular add-on downloaded. 60 million people are downloading rotational add-ons? That's insane. That's completely insane.
You mentioned a damage meter.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in just what your view is, philosophy-wise, about damage meters.
Our damage meter is good.
That's a great question.
I feel like now you need a damage meter. Like, people would not even want to play the game without damage meters. Now that we've had them for so long, like, they're I feel like they have to be in the game. I don't know. Even though it's all anyone looks at now.
And I think ultimately we have to be guided by what our community prefers and what we see them doing today. The single most popular add-on used across the entire game is a damage meter by like a fair margin.
Okay.
The majority of players, the large majority of players, have a damage meter add-on installed. And so that indicates that people want to see that information at least about themselves. We definitely want more nuanced measures of success and understanding, like how successful were you or how much did you contribute on this run, highlighting things like interrupts, highlighting things like avoidable damage to give a fuller picture of performance. But at the end of the day, I think for someone who's trying a new spec, trying a new talent build, getting a new trinket, and they want to see like how did this affect my performance compared to the last run, that's an important piece of information to have. And so I think we know that in any world where we were going to limit some of the ability of add-ons to, like, again, do that real-time combat event tracking, we would need to provide a damage meter solution of our own. And I think one of the exciting things, I think, if we're doing that on our end, we can also have it be server authoritative, so you're not worried about like who's in a different combat phase, who's out of range, or whatever. Yeah. It could just be like, this is official and going to be accurate all the time.
We were obviously mostly thinking about Mythic Raid when our brains go to how this is going to affect things, but the overwhelming majority of players are in heroic raids, normal raids, raid finder raids, doing Mythic Plus dungeons,
or in arena.
Right? When we're talking about making these changes to what WeakWars can do, is there an appetite for changing how heroic and normal raids function as well? Like, do we see these problems in there as well for what add-ons can do and how they solve things?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it all trickles down, right? I mean, I think maybe even more, a larger percentage of players doing Mythic Raid might use specific weak aura packs than, let's say, normal. But those add-ons are used by the majority of players right now.
Got some new tech for
Certainly
you.
other, boss mods are as well.
Hold on, guys, a random Sasha clip here. What's...
Like K-Dot, oh my gosh. Well, so I think this is a good, okay, this is a secret. This will really be helpful. So if you're on a date with a girl, or even a guy, like whatever it is, if you're on a date with someone, and you're potentially like, okay, interested, maybe you want to kiss them, you offer them gum. So like, let's say you had dinner or a drink, and you're like, you want a piece of gum? Of course, that is not a telltale sign that that's the case, but that's definitely not a no, you know, because like that means preparations are happening.
Gum? Guys, I don't chew gum. I have a what the fuck? Guys, I have a sensitive enamel. I can't chew gum.
I think a lot of it just comes down to what are the coordination challenges that we're presenting. If there's something that everyone is relying on a tool right now to assist with,
what color was the car?
To still keep it the same level of challenging, but without that same automation assistance. So
I did not see a car in the background.
There's one or two fewer things to soak. You have an extra couple of seconds to like actually spread out on the fly. It's a pretty common mechanic of like, all right, 3 people get a debuff, they just have to like run out in different directions from each other. People have been just kind of playing the game and doing those for years and years. But of course, if you can like, if the time you're given to react is so tight that you can't afford to do that, then people do gravitate towards, all right, we're going to put diamond, circle, and triangle on the ground. Everyone's going to get an auto-assigned marker, and you just know, like, I'm going to run to my marker to guarantee that it's executed correctly. I think it's a bit more interesting if we give you a couple of seconds so that you can look around and make sure you're not running in the same direction, and then do the exact.
Dude, could Blizzard ever actually make a UI that's as good as add-ons that have been in development since the game's inception? Unless they just straight copy everything. I don't see how they could do it. I feel like a lot of the Blizzard features are low-key kind of ass. Like, even their new UI is still shit, and I don't really like their talent tree either. Like, I feel like this is impossible what they're even saying, because the new edit mode feature on the UI, I still don't know where half the shit is. Like, some stuff they made a little better, like the search feature, but there's all these, and then it's like so broken. You can't even like remove the arena frames still, I think, from the base PvP UI, and they look terrible too, compared to like a Gladius. Like, isn't that super annoying? Mom's texting me. I don't know. I'm not even sure how they even attempt to make their own add-ons that would remotely be the same level.
Exact same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, raiding in particular, but group PvE, group PvP too. Like in an MMO,
PvP,
a huge portion of the fun of it is
the PvP,
coordination, communication, feeling like everyone's working together to overcome some challenge in front of them. And I think getting back into a space where there's room for more of that organic collaboration, as opposed to it just being like regimented and solved by an external tool, I think like will open up a lot of design avenues.
What is this?
Yeah, it's gonna help some people. Like, I'm thinking like Pikaboo is gonna love this. It's like, what button do I press next? Okay, boom. I can kind of just hit that button and it's gonna automatically do things for me. Like, great.
This guy has no idea what he's
for
talking
the game
about.
going forward.
Throughout the last couple years, especially in Mythic Plus, that had been ramping in complexity. You've seen, and actually, even if you can go back, like you can see the amount of things that people have in their UI to help them know that something's happening. So like back in Power Auras, it was, there was just some giant, some giant face on your screen would pop up, and that meant that something procced. And then it's gotten more, refined. And now, even in the last, it's been ramping in the past couple of years. You see like, you listen to someone's POV who's doing High Mythic Plus right now, you're gonna hear AoE, dodge, frontal, circle. Yep. Like, it's just every bit of audio aid they've used to, it's in the idea of being optimal, it's not required. And especially this patch, I think Mythic Plus complexity has actually gone down as an intentional design point, it seems at least. I think you might have made a post about that. So that stuff is less required, but people have like kind of already baked that in the UI. Is that something that you're looking to either have an ability to have that in the game, or is that something you don't want to have happen, where it's more like you're organically doing the mechanics because you see them, or are you okay with all of the audio and visual aids that exist currently within add-ons?
I think the answer is mixed there. I think like audio prompts are something that are super valuable to people. That's something we want to continue to add support for on our end as well. Like we know we've got feedback we've gotten around the 11.1.5 cooldown manager would be that many people would appreciate being able to have audio prompts tied to certain things or procs firing, and that's something they would miss about weak auras. We want to make sure that we're offering that kind of thing as well. Beyond that, I think a lot of what we've seen is frankly us not doing a sufficiently good job of telegraphing the importance of certain mechanics and their impact, and players needing to come up with solutions for them externally. Ideally, there's a concept that we call affordance, which is basically just how well is something telegraphed, how intuitive is it with visual presentation. And ideally, the affordance of a mechanic should match its impact. And sometimes, if you have a random mob in a dungeon pack that has a frontal that will just delete you if you're not getting out of the way of it, and it's just one thing going on among a half dozen other things, why? And why? How can we call that out better?
He's direct
with visuals,
eye contact.
with a longer cast time, with how we're...
Max is listening and thinking. This is the ADHD tweaker shit. Do you see how he can't sit still? Because he's trying to think. He's thinking so hard about listening to what he's saying that he's trying to remember what he's going to say while being attentive. Dratnos over here is way less ADD, it seems. Like
creating the pack in the first place.
You see how he can sit still?
And that's just one example of the areas.
Body language analysis here, and even this cross. But everyone here is kind of uncomfortable because when you're touching yourself and grabbing yourself, it's like, okay, I'm a little nervous. I'm trying to just get some kind of stimulation here to just stop moving, and my brain's not moving my body, so I can think more about what's going on, and you know what I'm saying? Like, just look at the difference in stature.
Something else we talked about on the UI front is we would want the ability to, on our end, flag mob casts in Mythic Plus as like lethal, as like this should be a high priority interrupt, because we know players are going to basically look to solve that anyway. If there are 3 casters in the pack, and 2 of them, it's actually kind of okay to let them free cast, but one of them, if they ever get a cast off, they're probably going to wipe. They shouldn't all just look indistinguishable on your screen.
I'd be sitting the same, bro. I'd be doing the same shit. I know, I do that shit.
Wasn't there like a couple casts where like super giga you die death volley or something?
Yeah.
And they had this big animation.
Our Kara casters where they hunker down, there's green glowy stuff around them, and they're casting a volley, and you're like, all right, I gotta kick that.
You could be playing WoW for 2 days, and you're like, that's
not happening.
That can't happen. Yes.
But I'm looking forward to an M+ then, where if we're talking about maybe taking away my ability to air horn myself on a certain cast, something like that, if instead I have to be now looking at a mob and there is a sort of a visual language that I can come to expect, like if the mob is hunkering down and it's got particle effects around it, that means I gotta kick it. I think that would be more fun for everybody as well, rather than having the air horns be the solution.
Definitely.
That is entirely our hope, right? I think, and just to be super clear, I think we see the taking away part, the restricting functionality, as the end of this long road. I think we know, we want to make it very clear, we're not sitting here being like, all right, we want you to play the game the way we intended, and we're going to take away your tools.
No leg movement,
we just want to bridge that gap. And we have a lot of work to do on our end to keep building up more improvements, more functionality. And it's not just the UI, the VFX changes that you mentioned are a part of that overall effort of us asking, what are the places where players feel like they need add-ons to succeed? Why is that the case? And when it's like, it's not clear when you're standing in something, and so I need, GTFO or some other, sound effect to let me know that I'm standing in something lethal, it should be obvious, let's fix that on our end. And we know we want to keep chipping away at those things and hopefully eventually get to a point where really the only difference between what we are offering and what powerful add-ons can do is that small subset of
Can we go back to the Asmon React? Let's see. Can we finish it off with Asmon here? Bro, there was someone in here saying I was like a terrible person because we're watching Asmon. I was laughing at that fucking guy. That guy was freaking out. That guy came out of nowhere. Let's see, what does Asmon think? Where do we need to, let's see, he's going here, he's looking at the WoW section. Let's see, what's Asmon talking about here? Okay, here we go. So Asmon's gonna start talking about the WoW section here.
Okay, let me see, we'll pull up, and I want you guys to see how ridiculous this is.
Okay. Who's he gonna pick?
This is insane.
Okay, I mean, this one doesn't look
Really, this is the new raid. This is absolutely crazy. Why is this happening? And that's basic UI. I think that no, the damage meters are not basic UI. By the way, no, it's not. But either way, it's not that bad, to be honest. Yeah, it is bad. It's bad. Nobody's going to see something like that and say, "Oh, this is great. I want to keep doing this." If I can pull up Arena, it's even worse.
Yeah, who's streaming Arena? Ben, right there.
And so anyway, I think this is really the problem that the game has, is that they constantly make it more and more and more complex. And then instead of actually reducing that complexity and moving away from it, instead of that,
bro, the chat turns into Souls chat when I pull up Aspen. It goes straight Souls chat mode.
They
bro.
just
it's
add
crazy.
in ways to avoid the complexity entirely. The problem is the complexity. So if you involve, like, basically, it's like you're building, a river, and now you need to build a bridge to go over the river. You should have never built the river in the first place. The problem is the river. The bridge is a Band-Aid. And this is the issue that I think this game has, is that there's so much complexity to it. There's so much designed around it. And as I said, I'll be honest, I think it's guys like this that are professional players of the game that want to maintain the race to world first. They want to maintain the complexity of the game because it is their job. You need to stop listening to people that play the game.
It's the pro players ruining the fucking game. Jesus, man. I've been hating on the pro players for a long time. For a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Seriously. Jesus Christ.
For a living. And you need to start looking at what makes a good experience for a person playing the game. Imagine how shitty Elden Ring would have been if it was designed for people that beat Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 1, Sekiro, and Bloodborne. It wasn't. It was designed for people coming into the franchise and they wanted to play a new game.
Elden Ring was hard as fuck, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know if that's true, unless what he's saying is you could make yourself super strong and easily kill bosses, but I feel like that game's very hard. Sekiro is a hard game. Elden Ring is a very hard game. They're all very hard games. I don't even know. I thought those games were not designed for casual players at all. Are those games designed for casual players? I don't think they are. Souls players are not there is no such thing as a casual Souls player, I don't think. If you're playing a Souls game, you definitely have some form of autism, and you're a sweat. Yeah. There are no casual Souls players at all. I literally was trying my ass off in that game every day. It literally took years off my life of difficulty. Elden Ring could have been made harder based on the fact that players had played the other games. I guess. I mean, Elden Ring is such a... I don't know. Even that's like tough. I feel like those Souls games are just so different in design because it's like simple mechanics that are being repeated consistently. So it's also a hard comparison too. I don't know. It's very hard to compare anything to WoW. It's very different. At least in my eyes, because now that I've played it, I saw it. I mean, that game was hard as fuck. I thought Elden Ring was very hard. If you've beaten Elden Ring, or you even remotely come close, then, like, yeah, you're not a casual gamer at all, in any sense of the word. I don't know any casual gamers who have played Elden Ring. Or maybe they tried it and quit instantly. Like, you wouldn't get past the Tree Sentinel boss if you're a casual gamer. There's no fucking way. Unless you skip it. No way.
Every boss is Millennia. Yes, every boss would be Millennia. Isn't that you, though? No, I'm not playing the game as a job. Yeah, no, that's it. You're saying a game shouldn't be optimized for players like yourself? That is absolutely what I am saying. I am absolutely saying do not design the game for the top 1% of sweats, because if you do, they're the only ones who will keep playing it.
But I don't know.
That's
I don't know
exactly what I am saying.
I don't even think they really do that. I don't know. Maybe for PvE they do. I'm not sure.
I must not seen your Elden Ring playthrough. Yeah, just don't raid Mythic, man. Just keep doing heroic. I don't know. But, like, that's the whole problem that you have. Like, just don't do Mythic. Okay, just don't do the hard content that's really complex, that's rewarding, that gives you the best gear, because we've made it needlessly complex. Why does it need to be that complex as a baseline in the first place? Who decided this? Well, I'll tell you who decided that. Top 0.001% players that need to use this content as a either job or an ego meter so they can feel better about themselves. This is not a good way of designing the game.
I mean, I feel like the hardest difficulty needs to be hard. That's why, right? Isn't that what we're saying? Bro, every game is for everyone, but calling me autistic, which I probably am, is wild. My good man. Listen, I have autism too. Weaponized autism. You know, they're saying that the whole internet was created by autistic people, and that's the reason that cool shit happens online. Everyone's got some tism going on. Damn, Starforge, I feel like Mythic should be hella hard. I mean, right? Like, what? I don't even go into Mythic. I'll never go into Mythic because I'm not killing that shit. I'm not even going to try.
You guys are coping so hard, you're not the target audience? I know. That's why I stopped playing. Duh. That's exactly what I've said before. That's my whole point. Yes, that's like, duh. Until the design completely crashes the player base, this will keep going on. I quit Mythic Raiding because I didn't wipe 400 times on one boss after my long day of work. Yes. Destiny 2 had a similar problem because the director is a 1% raider. Look at Yoda's stream right now. He's pushing Mythic. Let me see. Yoda, where's Yoda?
Oh, he's looking at Yoda. See, I looked at him too.
I'm not sure really if I can find it there or not. Let me see. Okay.
See? I told you. I pulled up the same UI. You're like, oh, this is a terrible example. Perfect. Same thing.
This is crazy.
He's in an 18 key.
Really, this is insane.
Oh, it's bad example with the cooldown manager. Well, yeah, I guess no one's using the cooldown manager. Damn, 56 minutes. Asmon's a professional reactor.
What's really sad is like this, like on the video, Cooked WoW is, my friend. Yeah.
What's he looking at here? Blue, green?
Cooked WoW is. I guess this is just the way it is now, guys. I feel like, honestly, the game, I am no longer the target audience for the game. I think this was done partly by Blizzard and partly by me.
Damn.
Obviously, I haven't played WoW, retail WoW, in quite a while. It sounds kind of sad to say because, you know, it used to be like my main game. I used to love retail WoW. I would play it constantly. But nowadays, I just simply don't have the same level of enthusiasm or interest in it anymore. And I think this is one of the really big reasons why. And I think it's super sad to see that happen.
Yeah.
And you should attempt to casual play through the max level. Why? I mean, like, I just don't go back to the cave. Yeah, it's boring and lame now. Yeah, I guess so. Bro remembers Burning Crusade. Yeah, I remember Burning Crusade, man. I do. And you just grew up? I didn't grow up. I mean, it's not about growing up. It's just my interest changed and I stopped doing the same thing because I've been doing it for a long time and I wanted to do other stuff instead. It's not even that, but Google WoW Classic Raid UI, literally nothing changed over the years. Yes, it has. There's too many things happening on the screen. You can't tell me that a boss that does 20 different things is the same thing that Cro-Magus is. It's insane.
Damn.
I don't know. I guess this is just another example of me being more certain that I'm no longer the target audience for the game. And as somebody who was a huge fan of the game for years, I'm disappointed in that, and it's frustrating. That's it. That's the way I feel. It's frustrating. It's sad? Yeah, it is.
Damn.
But if they made your changes, would you start playing again? I'd be more likely to. I mean, I don't want to say I'm going to play the same way I used to. Like, I'd probably play sometimes for sure. Like, same as I played Season of Discovery when it came out. But in a general sense, I mean, do I want to go back and play this game super hardcore forever? No, I don't. But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be designed that way. Those little screenshots were just memes. Nobody uses 4 different raid frames. Yeah, I think so too. But you ever got great memories that involve WoW? It's undeniable. Yeah, I think so. But I just feel like, this problem, this solution, what this tells me is that the game is not going to get better anytime soon. And I understand that there's a lot of people that play retail WoW and they still like retail WoW. They think it's a great game. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you have something that you enjoy. But I just can't get into it. Damn. That's all there is to it. I just can't get into it. It's not my thing. And
that's where he's at.
Blizzard's a business. They have to chase the money. I mean, then why are you making it for the 1%?
That's fair to say. That's fair enough. You love playing the game. That's what's up. This game's not for him right now. That's a totally logical statement to say. Damn. Well, my take on the one button doesn't seem like it's that problematic. It seems like it can be pretty troll. But they definitely realize the game is too tough by putting that in. But I'm not sure what they're going to do to make the game easier and more approachable. The best thing that could ever happen to WoW or retail WoW is they make the game easier to get into. Because they have to get some new players. If there's no new players playing retail WoW, it will just slowly dwindle away. But, and that's another thing too, because there's only so many times we can go back to vanilla WoW. There's only so many times we can go back to vanilla. So I think they're getting onto the end of their rope with that one. So we'll have to see what's going on. I feel like there's only so many times we can do that. Did the 1% of players ask for the one button? I didn't even know people were asking for a rotation button. It's like that's crazy to me that I didn't know that one of the most popular add-ons in the game is a damage rotation. And I had no idea that people are using that. I didn't know that at all. No one even talked about that. I've never heard of that once in the years I played WoW every day and streamed it every day. But 60 million downloads? Clearly, like, that's unbelievable. It's completely ridiculous. Used to be a macro. Bots? People are saying bots don't need it. Just can't get retail. Yeah, we'll see. Killdozer uses it every day. Is Killdozer using that? Really? Is that true? Play Expedition 33. Guys, do we need to take a look at Expedition 33? We're also at 142 subs on the day. I gotta figure out where this is going here. Wait, we have a couple more reacts. Should we look at a couple videos? Or should we get in there instantly? We're at a 3-hour reactor now. Oh, what? My mom said she made chicken and rice or something? You got 4.8k bots? You said last night is time? I think we have to check it out. We have to. What is this clip? Dirty, fatherless behavior.
Think about fungal nail infection. You're going to get no sympathy from any of us.
That's fair. That's fair. I just don't feel like I've committed a crime by wearing your socks.
It's not. It's dirty, bruv. It's skanky shit.
I think there are much skankier things that I've done with you, is all I'm going to say.
That's different.
Why?
Because that's not wearing clothes.
No, it's worse.
Yeah, but
who are these
It's much skankier.
What is this?
That's on you.
You're
and that's
like,
on you.
I'll put my dick inside you, but I draw the line at you wearing my sock.
Alright. Let's take a look at this. Let's oh, did any of you guys watch this game, Arc Raiders? Is this game lit? Guys looking like me, huh? This game looks kind of sick.
Wait, let's test something. Wait, you can
Proximity chat is sick. I like proximity chat in games. What is Tyler accusing the viewer's kid?
Yo, Tyler.
This dude's about to get racist. This guy is about to get racist. Jesus Christ. Should we even listen to this? This guy for sure sounds like he's about to get racist. Is it safe?
My dad used to chase you down on an H1Z1 in cop cars and one-shot you with shotgun.
Yeah, of course he did, a little fucking pussy. Tell him to get the fucking mic.
Alright. Yeah, would you guys say that to someone's kid, bro?
Pick down the mic! You little strip sniper!
Nah.
Now give your pops the mic! Let me talk to him for a second!
How long have you been streaming for?
This kid is so calm. Imagine Tyler one is yelling at you to put your dad on the mic, and he's just not reacting at all. That's legendary. What is Zoil's daughter? This is some gooner shit?
He was sitting, and he like got up, and I think it was like a survival thing for me.
Is Zoil like 7 feet tall?
You know?
That's fucked up. Can
Ross,
you back
can I read some?
real quick, just to see the size comparison?
Yeah, for sure.
Zoil.
Maybe we go side to side.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
You guys are so uncoordinated. Go back to back. This is actually crazy.
Oh my gosh.
That is insane.
That is crazy.
That is fucking nuts. Bro.
I am really short.
How tall are you?
5'2".
Oh man.
Bro, holy fuck. Zoil is like 7 feet tall? What? Dude, this guy's fucking fried. How could he even get this big if he's that tall? If this dude just started dieting and going to the gym, it'd be insane. This guy's gotta be trolling. This dude needs to lock the fuck in immediately. Are you kidding me? Bro, if I would... This guy is completely trolling. What? Yeah, that's that. Oh my god. I don't know how he is not completely fucking locked in. He should lock in literally immediately. Alright. We don't need 100 men if he's there. Okay. Alright. What color was the... I wasn't looking behind Alinity, bro. Alright? Get idiots. You're not looking there either. Alright, let's see. It's time. We got to try Expedition 33. We have to give it a shot. He would have tore that out. So 10-minute timeout, bro. What the fuck are you? What are you even saying, man?